Welcome to Forensic Friday.
Where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. Hello, forensic friends.
Hi.
Was that more or less creepy than last time?
Less.
Great.
Less creepy.
Less creepy.
Yeah, the last time was a little really creepy.
I know, I'm sorry about that. Sorry for the jump scare.
I was like, do I sign off? I don't know what to do.
Like, oh, who's she? At least you're not just hearing the audio. I feel like the audio is scarier than my face, I've never been
Yeah.
told I have a scary face.
God, you're hilarious.
Maybe my voice is scary, but not the face.
Yeah.
I was talking today about maybe it was yesterday or today. Oh, it was today. We were in group together, and remember it came up, the finger thing came up. Like people losing a digit or a part of a digit, right? And I brought up Cape Fear. Have you watched it? The new Cape Fear?
Mm-mm.
It's wild.
I don't even know what it is, what that is.
So did you ever see the old movie? And it's I've been asking Garrett for weeks and I can't remember it right now. Not Al Pacino, De Niro. De
Okay.
Niro's in it. And it's
Okay.
basically like an ex-con comes back to kind of torment. I believe it's the prosecutor and the defense attorney in
Okay.
the case. And he's like released, he gets kind of exonerated, and they're in this town. And he just keeps kind of popping up, and it's real gaslighty psychopath kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's been exonerated and because she was involved in his case, they're crossing paths all the time, and he starts messing with her family and all this stuff. So I'm at the part right now, spoiler alert, the son like wakes up without a toe. Like wakes up without a
Oh
toe.
my gosh, that's
And so they're
crazy.
trying to figure out like what happened. And then he chokes on the toe. Like he throws the toe up
What?
basically at the ER. No, I know
Oh my
it's
God.
thing. I was
Wait,
not
the person
anticipating.
without the toe throws his own toe up?
Yeah, 100%. That's what happened. I know. And I still
No
don't
wonder you were so grossed out.
that's what I'm saying. So
I
this
was
is
like, why is she like, you're so funny with your reactions sometimes because you're like, and I'm like, why are you making that sound to like a missing finger? I'm like laughing because,
face was like
my own trauma.
no, the client literally was like, I love how Nat's laughing and Janine's face is like, freaked out. And that it did bring that image right back to my mind. And I was like, I don't know if I can keep watching this, but I also really want to know what happens in the series. So
Hmm.
I may hang in there a little longer. And then also tonight, one of my clients told me about our guys in the waiting room, and that can go any which way, you know this. And so
Right.
she said, do you run a group, around this time? And I was like, yeah, we run groups, all day long, whatever.
Mhm.
And I didn't say what the group was or anything, but she goes, they're an interesting crew. And I was like, well, I mean, that's legitimate. I mean,
Right.
it's an interesting group of folks.
Right.
She said, well, they were talking about you. And I'm like, oh no, like I don't even know what that would be about. And she goes, no, 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 it was good. And this was really sweet. She said that they were talking about me and you, but in the context of a group member that has been around a long time was encouraging a newer group member who was really frustrated to be there. And they were
Right.
helping each other, but like in the waiting room. So she saw this whole interaction happen. And she said it was kind of cool actually because the one was talking to the other one who was like kind of pissed off, and
Mhm.
it was cool. Like she said actually it was she said it was a little weird to see that many, guys in one place, and they clearly had
Mhm.
stories. But I said were they cussing? Because we've told them not to cuss in the waiting room. She
Right.
goes, "No." And I said, were they saying anything like inappropriate? Because I need to know that. And she goes, no. And then that's when she told me more about what they were talking about. So that was
Good.
kind of encouraging. So I would
Good.
expect that. We run a tight ship, but it's
Uh-huh.
always nice to hear that,
Yes.
you know?
That's fair. Yeah.
So for our
Yeah.
mini today, buddy, I sat in with our lovely Kim at the office, who we adore,
Yeah. Yeah.
in substance abuse group
Mm-hmm.
night, relapse prevention. And I got to thinking about our series on Are You Dating a fill in the blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, I really want to talk about substance abuse because there's so many dynamics in relationships when substance abuse is involved and
Yeah.
lots of questions, and couples can start debating. Is it a problem or not? Is it too much or not? Are we too
Right.
sensitive? All of
Right.
those things.
Right.
So, are you dating an addict? And I want to say with addict, we don't love labeling.
Mm-hmm.
Are you dating a person with a substance abuse issue potentially? But that's way
Mm-hmm.
longer. So we're just calling
Mm-hmm.
it Are You Dating an Addict? But just know we know that the more PC thing is a person who's struggling with a substance abuse issue.
Right.
There. Now you know all the things, the
There we
PC
go.
and the shorthand. It's
There
like
we go.
psychopath. Person with psychopathic traits, psychopath. I mean, whatever. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
My first question for you, for us to discuss.
As I drink wine.
Yeah, I know. You're fine. If you have a problem with wine, I'd be the first one to tell you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, girl, knock it off. I
And I
would.
might not listen. I'm just kidding.
Well, you probably wouldn't if you had a problem, which is what we're talking about.
True.
So, my first question is, how do we clinically define if someone, and the reason addict is such a lightning rod term, right, is because in recovery communities,
Mm-hmm.
they will often say, I'm an addict, and that's part of their radical acceptance of their behavior and being willing to say, I'm powerless over this thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then that's also the same lightning rod for people who are like, I don't want to be labeled by something.
Mm-hmm.
Also, where's that line? So, clinically, Nat, how do we know that somebody has a substance abuse problem? Because in the DSM 5, a substance use disorder is literally you're having problems with a substance, and there's
Mm-hmm.
criteria and all of that. But, like, how do we draw that line between I'm just drinking a little on the weekends or I have a little more this day or that day versus I am an addict, air quotes, or someone with a clinical issue?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of factors.
Mm-hmm.
There are assessments that will tell you.
Absolutely.
And I don't really think it's that I don't think we need to get into like
Mm-mm.
clinical terms of this, but I think
Mm-mm.
one of the things that a friend of mine said a long time ago, and I really appreciate it. Her name's Tori. I love her so much. She lives in
Mm-hmm.
Montana. She said, if I feel like I am telling myself I need a glass of wine, then there's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, I just want a glass of wine with a girlfriend, or I just want to have a beer while I do some admin, whatever it is. So she was telling, and this was years ago. I mean, this was back when I lived in Seattle. So like 10 years ago or
Yeah.
more. And that really stuck with me because I think when we go into spaces of like, oh my gosh, I need this, and it's a maladaptive behavior, that's what I, that's when I believe it can get a little dicey, right? And then when you talk about substance abuse, because there's all these different terms, right? There's addiction and then there's substance abuse,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
individuals who might not feel like they identify with the term addiction
Mm.
might say, I overdo it at times, like on the weekends, or I overdo it when I'm going through something, but I don't need to turn to that all the time. Right. And so there's
Mm-hmm.
like different terminologies, but I think when there's an like you're overindulging at any point,
Mm-hmm.
it could be considered an issue.
Yeah. Well, and I would
That's like the
say,
most vague answer. Sorry.
well, it's vague, but it's helpful because I think the whole thing is vague. When you look at couple of things. We're not going to go through DSM criteria. You can Google that. That's fine. There's also
Right.
assessments that are
Exactly.
really easy that you can Google and look up. So we don't need to go over those. But, historically there was like um dependence, abuse and dependence. I abuse a substance or I'm dependent on a substance. That was way back in the day when I was in school. Now it's substance abuse disorder, mild, moderate, severe, and those are based on a whole bunch of criteria. And depending on how many criteria you have, then that tells you how severe the thing is.
Right.
That's the clinical piece. But when you really look at what's going on in the brain, it varies a bit by substance and it varies by the problems that it's creating. So, what I would say to someone is it's almost irrelevant. It matters for insurance, for treatment, it
Hmm.
matters for diagnosis what the criteria is. But if
Hmm.
you are in a relationship with someone, what matters is the impact on the relationship and your partner. You, the relationship, and your partner. That's what matters the most. So it doesn't matter in many ways if you meet the clinical criteria or not. And
Hmm.
if you and your partner are fighting over what that criteria is, we're kind of missing the whole point,
Exactly.
right? So if we
Hmm.
say, am I dating a fill in the blank addict, someone with a substance abuse problem, whatever, one of the very first things I would look to is it causing problems in the person's life? That's one of the first questions that we ask in a clinical setting is this creating problems for you with work,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
relationship as a parent, health wise? Is it creating problems?
Hmm.
Now, illicit drugs always a problem. I'm sorry. I don't there's no
Yes.
there's
Agreed.
no casual use of cocaine that also won't land you in prison in the wrong situation. So for me, it's like,
Also, cocaine is like it's having a comeback now.
yeah, we've gone through all the things, the meth era, the opiates, coke and meth are coming back around again because who
Yes.
can afford coke? I
Uppers,
mean,
all
you know
the
what I'm
uppers.
saying? Like all the
Yeah.
uppers are coming. But I love what you said, Nat, though, too, because I think really when it comes down to it, anything that hits that dopamine system in our brain can be a problem.
Hmm.
So when we're talking about substances, we can also look at process gambling. We can look at porn. We can look at sex addiction. We can look at all these different things. They can all, food, anything
Hmm.
really that works on that system in our brain can be a
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now if someone's in a relationship with somebody and let's say this thing's become a bit of a problem. Maybe they have a couple beers at night when they get home from work and they're just kind of not themselves. And
Hmm.
they can look at that and say, I'm an adult. If I want to have a couple beers, I'm not using Coke. I'm not passing out. I'm not throwing up. But maybe the partner is sensitive to it because of their history, or they just don't like that their partner's different.
Hmm.
It's different or is different on substances.
Hmm.
And that's one of the real like insidious things about substances is you don't know how you are on the substance, other people do.
Exactly.
You think you know, but the other people are the ones enjoying your lovely
My
behavior.
favorite when they're like, I'm fine. I'm like, you're not fine.
Oh my gosh. I
You're not
remember
fine.
I remember in college this girl came running up to me in the dorms and she was like, "Can I borrow your car?" And I'm like, "You
No.
are high as a kite.
Like,
And I barely
absolutely.
know you. So no times two. Like absolutely not. We're not doing this."
Oh my
She was like, "I
goodness.
drive better high." I'm like, no, you don't. Also, you don't know what you're saying right now. You're not doing great.
Literally not
The
true.
person whose brain is altered is not the person who knows how they're behaving. It's usually other people. So,
You don't
what,
say.
what would you say to that person who's listening who's like, you know what? My partner is using something legal. In Colorado, it's we everybody's California sober in Colorado. We
Mm-hmm.
actually have a pretty healthy state. So they're either drinking overpriced beer,
100%.
right? And then they're smoking,
Overpriced and high alcohol content.
and then they're working out like a mad fiend and smoke a little weed. So like that's the Colorado vibe, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit hard to argue with. And out here in Colorado, even if you're on probation, You can use medical marijuana. I'm putting this in air quotes. I have lots of opinions about this, as Nat knows. But my question is, what would you say to that person who's listening who goes, my partner's having, in my opinion, is using something legal in a way that I'm not crazy about,
Mm-hmm.
but they're kind of defensive about it. And I'm having a hard time making an argument that makes sense outside of I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
What's
do then?
rephrase the question?
How can a person, so let's say there's a person in a relationship
Yeah,
with someone who's having a couple beers and smoking a joint on the weekend or whatever, and the
sure.
partner just doesn't like that. Maybe they have
Right.
kids, maybe they just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like that that person's altered.
Yeah.
But it's hard to have the conversation because the other person's an adult. It's a,
Right.
they're not, it's not an illicit drug. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily dangerous. How can somebody address that in a way that's productive?
We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Southeast Counseling Center. Southeast Counseling Center is a 501c3 nonprofit mental health provider right here in Parker, Colorado, conveniently located just off major highways. We serve the whole family, from play therapy for kids to couples and family therapy, trauma treatment, psychological testing, and specialized groups. Access matters. That's why Southeast Counseling Center accepts Medicaid, TriWest, and victim compensation, and also offers a community subsidy program to help people who fall in the gap between Medicaid and traditional insurance coverage. And because we're a nonprofit, every dollar donated by the community goes directly towards providing treatment services for people who need help. Prefer to meet at home? Telehealth is available statewide so anyone in Colorado can access our services. To get started, call 720-842-5553 or fill out our secure web inquiry form at secounseling.org. Southeast Counseling Center, care that is accessible, compassionate, and rooted in the community. Well, I mean, my answer is always going to be it depends with some of the stuff because I'm sitting here thinking like, well, if it's a new relationship
Mm-hmm.
and you're now realizing like, oh, they enjoy smoking weed or they drink too much for my
Mm-hmm.
liking, that
Yeah.
might be the person for you.
Yeah.
Like that you might if you're newly dating, you shouldn't go into a relationship thinking they're going to change.
No.
That's an unfair expectation. If this is a long-term relationship and these are new behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
then we can talk about something and say like, hey, this is new.
Right.
This isn't really what I knew when we met.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something that either of us really did. And
Mm-hmm.
so like, is there something going on?
Mm-hmm.
What's the change? Like get really curious around what shifted for that person. But I think if it's a new relationship and you're just like, I'm just learning this thing about them and like this isn't new for them, you know?
Yeah.
We're new, then I would honestly just say like you guys just have different values.
What happens, because I agree with you, what happens if they pull the switcheroo
Mm-hmm.
that folks with substance abuse issues do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have things I don't like either. I don't like nitpick you to death.
Mm-hmm.
What do
Bye.
you, well, but it's so easy to say that. But we
Uh-huh.
also know how lovely these people are. That's the truth. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of it's a weird way to say it, but yummiest people, some of the best, very best people
Mm-hmm.
struggle with something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be difficult at times to have these conversations because, particularly if you're in the relationship, or maybe you've been together a long time and it's like they never grew out of the partying or they never grew out of the couple beers on the weekend thing
Mm-hmm.
that isn't working maybe with your family life or whatever, because that happens sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that happens and they are deflecting into your behaviors, that can be challenging too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what would you say to someone who's trying to figure out how to address that? where it's like the person says, well, I don't let you shop too much. Like we have credit card debt or you know what I mean? Because there's legitimate things often
Mhm.
on both sides.
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah,
do then?
I think you can say, that's a fair assessment. That's a fair, viewpoint. And clearly we have some deeper things to talk about. And
Hmm.
maybe we get into values conversation of like, okay, like what do we actually want this to look like? What does it look like to actually be in partnership? In what does it actually mean to be in partnership with some of these struggles? You
Mm,
know, I mean, Lord knows I have a shopping addiction. And so I
mm.
think, I thankfully I have not indulged as of late. Uh
Everyone has a
a
problem
shopping
with,
addiction.
no, I,
Oh,
I mean, I don't wish they did, but also like that make me feel better about myself as well. But
yeah.
everyone in our society, I think, has a little bit of an instant gratification thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Well,
think
and
this is
Amazon
unusual.
doesn't help this.
No, Amazon, oh my goodness, yes. We need a class action settlement. They've turned us all into crazy people. But I
I'm like, two
wonder,
days as opposed to one? What are we doing with our lives?
I know, do you know what? I think that this is an interesting thing that you
So
brought up
bad.
because I think the 2 days is a deterrent for some people. I am less likely to buy something impulsive if it's going to take longer to get to me.
Oh, 100%.
So
But
I
now they
kind
do
of,
the one day. They do the overnight.
well, they do, but there's also, I've noticed some things are taking longer because shipping in the world is a little bit weird. And I'm like,
Mhm.
huh, I wonder how we're all coping with this, especially neurospices who need it now. I think
I
it's
mean,
interesting. Some things are more accessible, but some things are it's taking longer. And I know for
yeah,
me, I'm like, oh, I don't, if it's next week, me might not be interested in that.
100%. Or I'm like, I don't need it next week. I need it like today
Yes.
because I just thought of it today.
One thing I want to talk about for sure when we're talking about am I dating a blank, right? One of the things I hear a lot when people are contemplating marriage
Mm-hmm.
is deciding, do I want to start a family or blend a family?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's dealing with particularly substances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when children, I'm just going to say it, children universally do not like when their parents use substances. And yes, they know a difference. They can tell a difference and it doesn't feel as safe. So even if you think you're a happy, fun drunk, kids know and they know quickly. And there's even some research behind that, that they detect it and they do not like it. And they will
Right.
not move towards a parent that is overly indulging in a substance because it changes how they're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of the things that I think is important to consider in this discussion is it's less, again, about addict and more about impact.
Mm-hmm.
What is the impact of this behavior?
Mm-hmm.
And do they care about the impact?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people in recovery who can stay sober for a really long time and have a relapse. And I think just like any other illness, because I also believe in the disease, I know you do too, the disease model of addiction. It's the one that stands up, honestly. That doesn't mean there's not choice involved, but the disease model on a brain level just does make sense. It just
Mm-hmm.
does.
Mm-hmm.
I would stick it out with my family member through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
particularly if I've built a life with someone. And so I want to be really sensitive in this episode that I think people in recovery are incredible. And so you might meet someone in recovery who at some point in the relationship struggles again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have to have some kindness and tenderness around that because they may need a little bit of help. But the biggest thing is that willingness
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get back on the horse, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so, what are some red flags in your mind that in a dating relationship specifically, not marriage necessarily, not super long term,
Mm-hmm.
but if you saw these things early on, maybe when you first move in together or as things are getting more serious, that you would seriously consider ending the relationship?
If there's some stuff early on.
Yeah, I mean, not like first date, but like you're
Yeah.
starting to make decisions about whether or not to stay in this thing.
Mm-hmm. I think if your values don't align,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a reason to not stay. I want to figure out how to say this in a way that doesn't come across as inconsiderate because we've worked with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if there's patterns you're seeing that are like, listen to your gut. Like if there's
Mm-hmm.
patterns you're seeing that don't align with what you know is like healthy consumption,
Mm-hmm.
obviously illicit drugs, like that's just like a no-brainer for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like cocaine, anything that's not legal, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, overly using prescriptions, even if it's like
Mm-hmm.
to sleep,
Yes.
if you address it and there's a lot of defensiveness,
Mm-hmm. That's a
right?
good one.
Yeah.
Yes. And denial. I'd put denial with defensiveness. If you're
Oh
met with
yeah.
like
Hmm.
absolutely not, nothing to see here, then it's like,
Right.
wait a minute, like
Right. Yes.
that doesn't feel like a conversation.
In the therapy world, we call that pre-contemplation.
Pre-contemplation, yes.
Yeah, so if they blame other people too, like,
Mm-hmm.
or shift it, like you said, like shift the
Mm-hmm.
focus of like, well, you nag a lot,
Mm.
or they blame external factors as to why they're drinking or doing
Yeah.
drugs, right? So if they're like, well, I just had such a stressful day, that
Mm.
can be concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, those are good ones, Nat. I would add secrecy. I think if there
Mhm.
starts
Oh
to be
yeah.
secrecy, and then especially secrecy without accountability. So like
Mm.
if you move in with somebody and they're acting sketchy, or you find a shooter somewhere, or like things are
Mm.
just starting to get kind of weird and you're asking, if somebody says, yeah, you know what, I actually struggle with this a little bit. And when I'm under stress and I hide it, or if they say something like, this has been an issue for me before and it's picked up a little bit recently,
Mhm.
but I'm working on it and here's what I'm doing, right? That we can maybe have conversations around that. But secrecy paired with not being willing to talk about it in particular
Yeah.
is just really tough in a relationship. And I think especially on the front end, like I hear this a lot, and maybe you do too now. I don't know what you'll think about this, but I hear a lot about this when couples move in together
Mm.
because you can kind of maybe you go out to dinner, and when you're dating, it's not unusual to have a glass or two of wine or whatever. Maybe you go home together, but when
Mhm.
you really move in, you see more of somebody's ins and outs. And all of us have quirks, man. All of us have things that are not the healthiest or don't support a real healthy relationship. But I think with substances in particular, because there's this tendency for things to kind of snowball out of control
Mhm.
when we really do have a substance abuse issue, not just casual use. Um, I tend to hear about it when people move in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
If you work with court ordered clients, you already know the system can be overwhelming. Documentation, coordination, compliance tracking, billing, on top of actually doing the therapy. That's why we want to tell you about Reliatrax, a one stop platform built specifically for therapists working in the court ordered space and voluntary treatment. Reliatrax helps you stay connected with probation and referral sources so everyone's on the same page and your clients get the best care possible without the endless emails, calls, and paperwork. And here's the exciting part. Reliatrax now offers Aura, their new AI assistant. Aura helps streamline documentation, keeps you organized, and supports your workflow so you can spend less time clicking boxes and more time doing clinical work. Reliatrax also supports insurance billing, including Medicaid, making it easier to serve both court-ordered and voluntary clients all in one system. No juggling platforms and no workarounds. And the other amazing thing is you have an actual team of people who can support you, not some automated system. If you're looking for a smarter, more efficient way to manage compliance, communication, and care, Reliatrax was built for this. Check out Reliatrax and see how it can support you, your clients, and the systems you work in without burning you out. You can go to www.reliatrax.com to get started.
We're recording. What? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Sorry, he brought me ice cream.
Oh,
I know.
oh my gosh, you're going to eat ice cream while we're recording, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna have one bite.
That's okay. You can have a bite. It's fine. You are powering through. We are doing very good tonight, I gotta say. People wonder and ask us all the time how we make this work. And it's like sometimes we have ice cream or Sour Patch Kids and a cup of coffee, and we just keep going at 10 o'clock at night. Like we just make it happen.
I feel like eating ice cream is less disruptive than Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, he was pissed about the Sour Patch Kids. I know.
Mm-hmm.
He was pissed for Gare, which is like mildly annoyed for the rest of us.
It's like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, no. That's his 6 is like my 1 or 2.
Yeah. Same.
So I mean he's precious,
He's fine, yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of think this is a question I hear all the time from clients, and I don't always know. It's not our job to answer this question, and we don't for clients, to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
But even the conversation of it is kind of challenging because we work so much with power and control.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those dynamics that gets parentified in like 5 seconds because then you're managing them.
Mm-hmm.
And this can work either way, the man or the woman. And it's like, well, did you drink today? Did you smoke? Did you this? Did you that? And it puts a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's an immediate debate about, is this a problem or not?
Mm-hmm.
Does this matter or not? You didn't used to care about this. This
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a problem when we were dating, or this wasn't a problem 3 months ago when we went out together and you're the one who drank too much. Like these fights start to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think where that line is and how we express things matters a lot.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously I would say when you have children, you really have to consider safety. That's like number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2 is social learning, which is the number 1 way that kids pick up behaviors is they see it in their parents. Right. And so not in a stigma way, like people with substance things can't have kids, or to say that people who occasionally have drinks, that's not an issue necessarily, but just knowing that our kids watch us all the time. They watch us on our phones also 24/7, or the foods that we eat, or whether we are moving or sitting and watching TV all day. Like kids see everything we do. This is not unique to any one thing.
Right.
That's a consideration. But outside of the kid piece, this unfortunately is very much up to a discussion between 2 people, which makes it challenging. Unless they're like clearly in the addiction pass out range. There's a lot of like area in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It's a wide range.
It's a wide range. Yes. So it's a challenge.
Yes. Something I do when you were talking about phones and children, I have like made it a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not always great about it. Like, especially when she's eating, right? I'll like check emails or check messages that I haven't checked all day. But I really try when I'm like on the floor with her in the playroom or in her bedroom, phones don't even enter her room.
I love that.
Yeah. So like people cannot get a hold of me when I'm putting her down or getting her up or anything like that. Or even when we're playing, my phone's usually on a table somewhere or I don't even know where it is half the time, but when I'm home at least. But no, it's so important to be just like aware of
Mm.
how you're showing up in your world, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, absolutely. And I've shared that, there's things I think in everyone's families, there's things in my extended family, Gare's extended family, where there's been issues. And it's been really cool to see how much things can change when there's honest conversation.
Mhm.
It's really beautiful. And one of the things that I love about Gare's family in particular is they're just really accepting.
Mhm.
And I love that. So I don't feel like I have to show up perfect. I don't feel that in my family either, but I'm just saying it's nice to have in-laws where I don't have to like be a certain way all the time. I love that. I've valued that for 20 years. What I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying about them as I'm getting older is I think I'm watching how Gare's rubbed off on my family in some really beautiful ways, and I've rubbed off on his family in some really beautiful ways. And I see that with you and Press, just in your marriage is cool that way too, where your families love both of you. Like what a blessing that is. You know what I mean? That we have that.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
But when I think about when he and I got together and how different our families are, they're so different. And I could see somebody as they're trying to assess someone that they're with, and you're trying to decide like, do I have a future with this person? Is this person a whatever any of these things are that we're talking about? The next logical step is to look at the family. And it's just
Yep.
interesting for me because I think Garrett probably looked at my family and saw some level of intensity. It's not bad, but we're intense and driven, and there's
Mhm.
there's like definite energy there. Like we're loud, we talk constantly, like it's just different. And Garrett's quiet and his family doesn't sit around and talk for hours, and like it's just different. And I see all the beautiful ways that we've come to the middle. And so
So Gare's family's not super talkative?
no.
Oh.
No, they are now. Listen, this is the wildest thing. My family now is way more mellow. Like we'll sit around and just kind of stare at each other sometimes when we're tired. Like we've just mellowed over the years.
I don't believe that for a second. I have been on a phone call with you and Tina.
Oh, that's because Tina and I have limited time in the car.
Okay, well, I've been on
We're not
calls
like
and
that
I'm
all the
like,
time.
there's no way you guys
Oh,
don't talk.
oh no, we can sit and we can veg.
I don't know,
It's
man.
not it's not the norm, but we can do it.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Come on over Dateline. If you come over on a Friday
Well,
night
Dateline, that's
at the
different. We're all
Stouts,
watching Dateline.
we're just like, but
Well, yeah, no one's talking during Dateline.
we can chill. I will say if we're just hanging, we're usually talking, but there's levels to that. I would say we can chill more than we used to. Gare's family, they're so talkative and lovely. We hang out and
Mhm.
sometimes they can just be, but they also talk. Garrett talks way more now. Sometimes he just sits while my family talks and plays on his phone, which is understandable, and we all accept that. But I see the beauty in it. And so I would say not to be overly judgmental of people, but to be aware of how the interactions are going, especially on this one. So when we get into, am I dating a psychopath? Cut and run, man. There's no
Mhm.
conversation there. When we talk about even narcissism to a degree, like,
Well, there's
okay,
nothing.
geez, if you're on the more severe end of that in particular, or if there's no room for you in the relationship, you got to cut and run. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. I'd rather
Mhm.
be single than mess with that. When
Mhm.
it comes to substance abuse, one of the things that's so challenging, I think, is these are genuinely amazing people,
Oh yeah, huge hearts.
huge hearts, dynamic, creative, smart.
Mhm.
And it's not that narcissists aren't or psychopaths aren't to a degree, but there's something
Well,
genuine.
they're not kind.
They're not kind, but they can be smart and creative and
Yes, yes,
engaging and fun.
yes.
So, there's a reason for our connection to people in the first place anyway. The
Mhm.
substance abuse one is tough, man, because you can work really hard on this thing over time and have setbacks. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like so pervasive. Addiction is so pervasive that to get to a place that's healthy and normal is a
Mhm.
moving target. It just is a little bit more vague. And so
Mhm.
I don't know that there's a perfect answer on this one, except how do you feel in the relationship? Is there accountability in the relationship? And is it safe and healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Those would be the grounding things, wouldn't you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, 100%.
And are they willing to get help?
Mm-hmm.
Are they willing to get help if they need it?
Yeah, and yes, and I think when people, defensiveness is one of the biggest things for me.
I know.
So when people aren't defensive to
Mm-hmm.
potentially things, and it doesn't mean that they have to sit there and fully admit.
Mm-mm.
Not like people have to be like, yeah, I'm like I struggle with this or whatever.
Mm-mm.
But if they're like, that's interesting that you see this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Gare, my spoon dropped. But the curiosity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about like if someone is open to you expressing concern
Mm-hmm.
or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually not bad,
It's not bad.
you know? But
It's not bad.
if they show up defensive, then it might not
Mm-hmm.
be, if you're newly in a relationship, then that might not be
Mm-hmm.
the relationship you want,
100%.
you know?
Absolutely.
Good topic. Look at Janine coming in with with my series. She
I
was like, I got
know.
a good one. I was like, all right, girl, you run with it.
Like, I got you. You get a case. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Thanks for your input, Nat. And we'll talk more about this in the future, but we just wanted to kind of get you thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you guys on Friday. As always,
Bye, forensic friends.
boop.
Okay, let me pick up my spoon.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.